As you can see in the blue, I'll give you a few minutes to take a look. The Social Studies MCAP requires writing in all 4 sections. All right, I think everyone has seen those. So what does this really mean for us? Here we have in the blue area, all 4 areas we are asked to have students write. Well, it tells us that writing matters in social studies, not just in ELA, but really in all content, including, as I said, social studies. And so as we move forward, I ask that you keep this focus on writing in mind for the remainder of our presentation. This is a visual of the last MCAP performance comparison between Baltimore City and the state of Maryland. Baltimore City represented by the blue line and Maryland represented by the red line. And this was for 8th grade and 10th grade for 23 and 24 year. Both assessment, both the 10th and the 8th grade, based on this last data, shows that Baltimore City Public School is making faster progress in social studies as compared to the state. This is amazing news. It shows us that we are making progress that we should be proud of, and this progress should leave us all fired up and energized about what's to come. Moving on to our next portion, we are going to be focusing on the different programs that support learning in social studies outside of the classroom. The National History Day program, one of our crown jewels of social studies. We had our most recent NHD event that took place this Saturday, and we had so many students energized and excited to share their projects with us. We had lots of volunteers, and we had over 100 judges. This program has grown tremendously over the years. This year alone, we saw 82 additional projects. That's something to be excited about. The excitement and engagement around this program continues to grow, and we could not be prouder of our students as well as our hardworking educators. I also want to share some exciting news from last year. We had a documentary titled Metallica versus Napster, a turning point in music history from Mount Washington School that actually advanced to the state level. And we are excited about what this year's results might bring for us. The next program I wanted to talk about was our partnership with Junior Achievement. This is a partnership that has lasted for a few years, and our students have really enjoyed participating in these particular events. Last year, we had 8,279 students that participated in this program. For those of you who don't know, the program is divided into 2 categories. We have BizTown that caters to 5th grade, and we have 7th grade Finance Park, and this focuses on more of personal finance. We also want to take a few minutes to thank Mayor Brandon Scott. Last year, the 7th grade students were able to participate in an in-person experience instead of just a virtual one. Again, thanks to the mayor for that. These programs are making real impact, helping students build stronger financial habits. And we are very excited to be able to offer our students these opportunities. Before I continue, I'd like to pause and invite one of our dedicated social studies teachers, someone who lives the realities of this work every single day. Her story speaks both power and the urgency around the quality of social studies education in Baltimore City. Please help me welcome Miss Julie Ruff.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me today. I'm Julie Ruff, and I'm a teacher in Baltimore City. I teach at Thomas Johnson Elementary Middle School. I teach 7th and 8th grade social studies. I've been a teacher for 9 years, and 3 of those last 9 years have been here at City Schools, and I really love the experience here. I love my school. I love my students. I have a wonderful, wonderful experience. I want to take a moment to talk about my experience, but also the successes that I've had being a social studies teacher here in the district. My success as a teacher here really comes from my students' work in partnership with the Social Studies Office and their support. So I'm going to talk today just a little bit about both of those 2 things and how they've helped me become the teacher I am and helped my students succeed. Oops. So to talk about my students, I'm really proud of them, as most teachers are. But my students, they're not just learning history; they are thinking like historians. Throughout my class, students are analyzing sources. They are asking thoughtful questions. They are thinking critically instead of just memorizing dates and history facts, which is really exciting. The social studies office, like Kalisha mentioned, has really supported teachers in the district, and also the board has supported us in that support with the DBQ project. So having access to the DBQ project, like she mentioned, the document-based questions, is something I use daily in my class to guide my students through source analysis and argument development, content vocabulary building. All of that has been really helpful with access to the DBQ project. And these skills are really, we see them cross-curricularly in ELA, especially when it comes to things like reading comprehension and evidence-based writing. We see that in both the social studies room and the ELA classroom. So the DBQ project has really helped with that. And just to focus on these foundational skills has been a key contributing factor to the success of my students. And I want to just celebrate them for a moment here in Baltimore City with our most recent MCAP scores. So I'm very proud to say that my students scored the highest on the 8th grade MCAP test last year, with scoring an average of 750, which surpassed the state average of 744 by 6 points. So we're really proud of them. My students also landed in the 11% of distinguished learners versus the 4% of distinguished learners at the Maryland state level. So again, I'm really proud of them. And I attribute a lot of their success to different things. But I'm excited to see how things go this year as well, because it's been a really exciting year in the social studies office. But this success that I have been able to observe and be a part of comes from a couple of different things. So obviously the DBQ practice is really at the focal point of my classroom, which is nice. What we also use the standard aligned scope and sequence that the social studies office has built out for us and really helped us be able to sort of, follow my students' key learning and track their content learning as well as their skill learning. The social studies office creates interim assessments, which give us regular practice with MCAP style questions, and just building that format and rigor of analyzing a source, right, instead of just memorizing the facts. Ms. Kalisha mentioned the Be More Me lessons developed in partnership with the Equity Office and the Social Studies Office, which really allowed my students to see themselves in their curriculum. I was actually had the privilege of writing curriculum for Be More Me and also piloting the curriculum. So I got to see that positive impact firsthand, and I attribute that to some of my students' success as well. And not to mention the professional learning that the Social Studies Office offers on those PD days is really helpful for me, just to collaborate and come together with other teachers and analyze data and that sort of things has been really nice. I also would, if I did not mention, I would be remiss if I did not mention the National History Day that just happened this past weekend. It was very exciting. It's really cool to see kids jazzed up about history. I mean, they are pumped. And I'm really proud of my students who participate in that. NHG allows us to connect their work of analyzing sources and research and asking critical questions and developing arguments that we learn in class to historical topics they care about. And so it's really exciting to see. And I'm proud of my students. We've had over 50 students the past couple years go to this the city competition. We've had more than 10 students at my school win the city competition, go on to the states. In a couple years, we even had a student win at the state level and go on to national. So again, just they're jazzed up, they're excited, and it's kind of fun to see that competitive spirit in them come out through history as well. Okay, last thing I want to say is that I am really excited to be a part of the iCivics and Be More Me collaboration this year as well. So bringing in iCivics has really helped, this initiative in general with Be More Me has really helped my students not only learn about national history, but also the history of Baltimore City. And so I want to thank the hard work of the Equity Office in partnership with the Social Studies Office, because again, it really gives my students a sense of agency and personal connection to what they're learning. And it's really helped my students, be with me in their learning because they feel seen and they feel a part of it. And so I'm very eager about the future of this continued collaboration and the growth of social studies. And I appreciate being able to share all of this exciting news today. I'm really proud of my students and the social studies office and their work with the equity office. And I can really see that in my classroom. And so thank you to everyone who's been able to support that and support my students. I'm really grateful. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Ruff, for taking the time to be here with us and for sharing all your successes. You're amazing, and we appreciate all your hard work. So thank you. In our final portion of the presentation, we'll explore the lessons we've learned over the years and the future of social studies here in Baltimore City Public Schools. I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight some of the opportunities we have to improve and what we did in order to ensure that teachers and students had what they needed to be successful. As mentioned in the earlier slides, high-quality resources are the core of student success. To address this challenge, we've increased both access to digital and online resources. Additionally, we understand that effective professional learning is crucial to building teacher capacity. And so we've worked very hard, very diligently to ensure that we have PL offerings to support both our teachers as well as our school leaders. And finally, to ensure diverse perspectives are represented in social studies classrooms, we've prioritized exposing our students to the Be More Me curriculum and offering training to teachers to feel confident and empowered in teaching these topics, like Ms. Ruff just mentioned. So where do we go from here? The social studies team has identified several key priorities that we plan to execute in the school year 25-26. As mentioned earlier, student success in writing is crucial, not just in ELA, but across all subject areas, including social studies. To support this initiative, we are committed to collaborating closely with the Office of Continuous Improvement to strengthen cross-curricular integration by implementing writing strategies from the Writing Revolution. Additionally, we are focused on enhancing student-teacher development by using both qualitative and quantitative data alongside teacher input to design professional learning opportunities that will improve instruction for our teachers and, of course, our students. Finally, the Social Studies Office will continue to partner with the ELD Office to create a U.S. history curriculum that is tailored to fill the gaps and support our new multilingual students, ensuring that they too have the tools they need to succeed. So thank you once again for this opportunity to talk with you and to share the exciting things happening in social studies across the district, as well as our opportunities for growth. And of course, I welcome any comments or questions that you might have for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that comprehensive report. And thank you so much to the wonderful teacher who joined us today. I already see a hand up. Am I to assume that that is Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
You have assumed correctly, and my
Welcome.
apologies for being a little bit late in my struggles
Okay.
with MTA.
I'm just glad you're here. You have some questions for us today?
Yes. Having been, and two topics that you hit on in the future of social studies in city schools. If I am not mistaken, my idea of the purpose of social studies is to create citizens that can move our communities forward, our societies forward. And I teach MLL students and also have taught U.S. history, social studies. I predicate this by saying that with this remark that I once wrote a paper that stated that the only use for the study of philosophy is that man institutes his own. Um, and I'm looking for where do we grow the activism of growing a better society? How do we initiate that? How do we spark that fire in our students? Because it is their job to carry forward what we plant in them. A lot of times, social studies is greatly reliant on, history, and history well-being just shows the examples of the past. But at times, how do we create a vision for using social studies for the future? That's my only question. I think you've done marvelous, marvelous, marvelous work. I've seen a lot of the results, and I see the growth of our students. So how do we support that continued growth in charting the future of social studies in city schools? And that's my question.
Sure, thank you. That's a great
Oh.
question. Um,
Marvelous question.
it is. I don't believe there is a straight answer or straightforward answer. However, I'll try to answer it the best way I think I can. When we talk about activism, this is something that bubbles up at the top in almost all social studies classroom. But one thing I want to point out as I think about a former student of mine who I'll give the example. She was not one that engaged every day, but I do remember when we had our protest with demonstration around Freddie Gray that she got really pumped and she got really fired up to go out and get that work done. And one of the things that she was able to do, she was able to write well. And so she was able to create these posters, not just for herself, but for the entire school community. And so I think when we talk about writing and the importance of writing, it also gives an extension to our students, their voices, amplifying their voices to to able to go out there and to galvanize and to really get this thing done. And as you mentioned, Commissioner, to be able to be change agents. So I think that is one way that we can do that. Improving their writing skills, and so they can go out and amplify their voices and create that change that we all want.
Thanks, Kalisha. One other additional
Thank you.
thing that I'll add, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, is that, it's definitely evident in our Be More Me curriculum that's now engaged, partnered with iCivics. I think students definitely have opportunities to not only see themselves, but they have opportunities to understand their impact in their own communities as well as communities at large. And I also saw a lot of evidence of this past Saturday in our National History Day, where students have the opportunity to dig deeper into things that really matter to them and their own personal experiences in their communities, and where they see themselves as really being change agents. So I think, just experiences like that will help our students understand the ways in which they can engage civically, not only to bring change to their community, but the world at large. And it was really, really cool to see kids focus on things that are most meaningful to them. So I encourage everyone, if you have not had the opportunity to attend National History Day, that you do so next year, because it is really a treat to see our young people.
And I just want to throw one caveat out there that our MLL students bring with them a wealth of experience in different social settings, in different cultural settings, in different governmental settings. They bring that to us. And I think there may be something in there that we may be able to mine as we move forward. And that's just throwing that out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner. I'm going to open it up and turn it over to Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger for questions.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity to ask questions. Real quick, are you seeing any evidence that because social studies and MCAP is not part of the MSTE report card, that it's getting shortchanged at the expense of focus on math or ELA throughout the district?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start and then Kalisha can jump in. I know one of the things, Commissioner Redding Lallinger, that we are doing is making sure that we're building the capacity of our school leaders and our teachers to understand that there are absolutely connections between the engagement in social studies and scores even in ELA, right? How that translates to MCAP in ELA. Really having opportunities to build that background knowledge in social studies has a direct correlation integration to students' experiences and outcomes in ELA. And so the last Leadership Institute we had with our school leaders, we were able to make those deep connections with our school leaders, giving them an opportunity to engage in an MCAP-like social studies experience that students would engage with, and then being very explicit on helping them make the connections between that engagement and the focus on or the connection to ELA, so that folks do not shortchange social studies, and they see that, you know, social studies is just as important as the other content areas. And by engaging in social studies, we actually are building students' capacity to be successful in other contents, especially in English language arts.
Thank you, Jalima. And I don't have much to add to that, but just to echo what Jalima mentioned earlier, that when we think about social studies, we have to think about the content knowledge or the vocabulary that comes along with that. And oftentimes we think about ELA and we forget that within those ELA assessments, it's deeply steeped oftentimes in social studies. And so marginalizing or ignoring social studies is going to impact our ELA scores negatively. And so like Jalima mentioned, we were able to lift that up and highlight that to our school leaders to understand the connection, the close connection between both contents.
I think I see Dr. Teresa Jones with her hand up, so I wanted to give her an opportunity to respond if that's what she wanted to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater-Harrington. I just wanted to offer that for the state's star ratings, the report card ratings, there is the inclusion of the MCAP assessments for social studies as a part of the access or credit for well-rounded curriculum. So I did just want to offer that for the commissioners.
That's helpful to know. Can I also ask, this is just a request, to send to the committee a greater breakdown of the state assessment results. You know, I find that the math and the ELA and even science are very readily accessible at the state's website, but I'm not usually able to access social studies, and I just would like a better picture than just the proficiency averages of how students are doing in social studies. So if there's someone who could send that to the committee, that would be much appreciated.
We'd be happy to. Thank you.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Commissioner Bay, I see your hand, but I wanted to get in a question as well. So I'll let you go ahead and then I'll round us out then.
One real quick question. I also would like to see any information on or any quantifiable information that you have on cross-curricular impact, because I think that strengthens your motion forward, if you have it.
So I don't have any specific data points, but previously to this particular role, I served as a literacy coach. And I think that is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this, because I see single-handedly, how many several of our students who have great content knowledge, but are just not able to put it on paper. They're not able to express themselves. And so there's a strong correlation between improved ELA scores in classrooms or in schools that have spent the time and dedicated some time to social studies instruction. So even though I don't have the data point to show you now, but I have seen in several schools across the district where that correlation is very evident. It does improve the scores.
Thank you.
Dr. Redding Lallinger, is that a new hand or an old hand?
It's a new hand, but you can ask yours first.
Well, since we're talking about cross-curricular integration and with regard to literacy, writing plays a very key point. And I think you referenced the writing revolution. I just wanted to hear what data or feedback have we collected so far on students' writing performance in social studies, and how, again, we measure progress with writing. And I think that was related to what you just answered around the integration between literacy and social studies. But if you can just amplify some of your key points around cross-curricular integration with writing, that would be great.
So we don't have the data right now, but I'll be happy to get that data to you. But what we have found is that throughout the district, our MCAP scores within their social studies MCAP specifically, the writing portions have always and continue to be the lowest areas.
Okay.
And so if we're able to elevate the students, their writing skills, we are positive that we will see an improvement in their social studies MCAP, because that area is the area of most struggle at this moment. In addition to that, we have done some work around the writing revolution. We don't have a lot of data because we've just started, but we do have some data we'll be happy to share that teachers that have implemented the writing revolution have seen significant growth in their students' writing skills. And so we are confident that merging both will support both ELA and social studies as well.
Remind me what grade levels the writing as a revolution or writing revolution applies to.
So right now there's K through 12. However, because of the nature of K through second grade, it's recommended. However, it's a bit more challenging to implement at that grade level. So it's usually between 3rd and 12th grade.
Yeah, and we are still doing some work in primary grades as well. This right now is a year of safe practice, Commissioner Slater-Harrington, and we are working across all grades and really gathering lessons learned around implementation, around the resources and supports that teachers need in order to continue to move this work forward. Because as Kalisha shared, not just in social studies, but across the board, we see that as an area of need for many of our students, especially as they engage in these constructed response or EBAS types of questions that they actually see on the state assessment. So we are focused across all grades right now, just in this year of safe practice, and we'll continue to get more granular as we move forward. And the other thing to, I think, lift up too is where we're able to see evidence of student writing that we're monitoring is through these opportunities that are embedded, these benchmark assessments that are embedded, or interim assessments, I'm sorry, that are embedded into our social studies curriculum, our scope and sequence, that students have the opportunities to engage in writing. And so we continue to unpack that to understand whether or not, students are actually making growth in their writing. And that also informs our professional learning for teachers and how to support teachers and really not just instructing around writing, but giving kids the opportunity to write through these experiences.
Okay, and for the purposes of like the public that might be on, can you give some insight into, should be really quickly, just what you're calling this year safe practice? What does that mean in terms of implementation? But also under that, can you color in for us a little bit more around how you're supporting teachers in this implementation, like what that could be, what that looks like? I mean.
Sure. So safe practice means that we are giving teachers an opportunity to learn and grow in something that is new. And so, not strict evaluations. So we're not going in classrooms saying like, you absolutely must be doing it and we need to actually see it this way, but really giving teachers an opportunity to learn something, to try it, to get feedback on it, to give us feedback on how that worked so that we can continue to make adjustments, before rolling this out full scale. So just really giving teachers that opportunity to, continue to learn and grow and try things with their students and give us feedback, and not requiring all of these specific mandates on you must do this particular thing in this way right now.
I'd also
And
like
there was
to add,
another part of your question, Commissioner Slater-Harrington, that you asked. I apologize.
It just was about how we're preparing teachers to implement. So it sounds like we're in the pilot phase. So how we're preparing for full stage implementation and supporting teachers in that.
Yeah, we have a lot of different opportunities from PLCs, professional learning opportunities, where we're engaging teachers to try different things on or to try different strategies within the writing revolutions and being able to give them feedback, have have them give us feedback. There are also some systemic professional learning arcs where teachers are engaged in the writing revolutions, and then some opportunities for school leaders and their teams with external partners as well as internal partners as well to be able to try some of these strategies across their contents and inclusive of social studies. So lots of different types of professional learning opportunities and coaching around that. Thank you
And,
for the question.
I also wanted to echo what Jalima just mentioned. In terms of coaching, we've spent quite a bit of time ensuring that our literacy coaches are well versed in the writing revolution. We've had several training sessions ensuring that the coaches are able to go into the school buildings and to really support teachers, often in ELA, but also in social studies, to implement these strategies as well.
Perfect. Okay. Dr. Redding Lallinger, do you have a question?
I do, thank you. And I have a memory of, I believe it was I think it was our gifted and talented folks giving a presentation to us where they'd mentioned, I think maybe a school that was piloting some advanced curricular opportunities for middle school students to earn high school credit on the American history exam. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. Can you confirm that is something that's a pilot happening in one or more of our schools before I continue with my question? Is my memory correct?
So we have lots of different opportunities for advanced placement. Sorry, I don't know why I'm echoing, but lots of different opportunities for advanced placement and honors. I'm drawing a blank on the exact
in middle
name of the.
At the social. Sure, at the social studies level in middle school, opportunities for students to get high school credit in middle school, specifically.
I think I know what you might be talking about. I think you're referencing the sheltered curriculum. This is a curriculum that we are developing at the moment between 8th grade and 9th grade U.S. history for our newly arriving ML students to ensure that they also have the skills and the knowledge to be able to bridge that gap that sometimes happen when they enter 9th grade. They've missed the 8th grade curriculum, and so oftentimes they struggle. And so this is in the making right now. I think that's perhaps what you might be mentioning.
I think actually, Commissioner Redding Lallinger, you might be talking about the ELA opportunity that I think it's ELA, the ELA honors course that has a high school bearing credit.
Okay, that may be the case. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's what we lifted up in the last presentation, that we added that this year, so that students could earn that credit in 8th grade for their English one.
Great. Well, thank you. Then consider my question moot.
Okay.
I must be thinking of back to my own principal days, because in Louisiana we did actually pilot a similar course. So would let kids get high school credit in social studies, but I'm conflating two things. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I guess I'll just round it out. So with two questions, one around successes. So next year when we come to this presentation, update on social studies, what will be the success? What story are you trying to tell around success over the course of this next year? Maybe your top 2 or 3 things. And then from where you sit now, what are the challenges or the opportunities to really improve here as you look across the landscape of social studies in the district?
Sure, I can start and then I'll let Kalisha chime in. I think first, right, and some of the successes we are already seeing, we set goals this year, and right now we are working towards those goals in social studies. So we have more students engaged in honors programming in middle school, and that is something that we hope will continue. We saw that evident in the participation in National History Day, and so we want to see more students enrolled in honors courses. And so if we're able to come back next year, we hope to be able to share that number has grown. It has grown thus far, and we want to see that continue to grow. I think Kalisha also talked about the opportunity opportunities for writing. And so we know that that's a place where we have to really help to build our students' capacity and their writing skills. And so we hope to come back next year to say that we've actually seen now this evident in our continued growth in our MCAP assessment for social studies. So for 8th grade and American government. We fully believe that if we are able to give students the opportunities and give them strategies to be able to hone and build their writing skills, that we will actually see that evident in their participation and outcomes in our state assessments. We know our students have the knowledge. We continue to build that, but having them be able to get that out through their writing is something that we're really focused on in this year. So we hope when we come back next year, we'll be able to share that as a success.
And just to add one thing to what Jalima just mentioned, I think moving forward, what I hope to see is high quality PL sessions for social studies teachers. We want our teachers to teach writing. However, we want to ensure that we empower them with the skills to be able to do so. And so this year, this is one of my tasks to ensure that social studies teachers have robust, high quality PL sessions around how do you actually teach writing. So this is something that I hope to push forward, and we will share next year what the results are.
And then I would say a challenge, and I think we've lifted up, right? The writing is a challenge that we're seeing right now. The engagement in the writing throughout the school year, and then also the outcome in MCAP, we see that that is one of the lowest scored areas in these EBAS and constructed responses that students engage in. I think another challenge is just, helping our school communities understand the deep connections between social studies instruction and literacy, and how that actually helps build background knowledge for ELA. We've already started to do some of that work with our school leaders, and we'll continue to do that with our school leaders and our teachers. But I think that is, that has been a challenge, not just in city schools, but I think at large, just helping people understand why social studies is so important, and that should not be shortchanged for other content areas. And so as we continue to build folks' capacity around that, we hope that social studies will continue to be a focal point in our schools to make sure that students actually have the opportunity consistently to engage in social studies instruction.
I appreciate that, and I can amplify the importance of National History Day. My daughter is very involved. Always, I'm not sure about her topics. They're questionable, but they're her topics. She chose them, and she and her colleagues go deep. So I think it is a great demonstration, both for writing, because she's had to write scripts if she's doing a documentary, or just in the practice of getting that done. And so it's a culture change, but when it's driven by student interest, student-led curiosity, I think that it's helpful. I'm glad you mentioned principal leaders. So I think principal leaders are so important in terms of that culture shift, but also equipping them with the look-fors. And how do we know that our teachers are mastering what they in order to effectively deliver instruction. And so I look forward to hearing more. It's not a task or assignment, but when you come back, I really am interested in how we're supporting our principals and becoming the strongest instructional leaders as they can, particularly in this area, since it warrants this culture shift around the importance of writing. I see one hand, and I don't know if it's a new hand or an old hand. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, is that an old hand or a new hand?
Actually, it's a new hand.
It's a new hand. Okay,
It's a brand new hand. Well, I mean,
we just have 2 minutes left for this presentation, so you go
okay, I'm
forward.
I'm not an old hand. Well, yeah, I am an old hand, but
it's a youthful hand. It's a youthful hand, but new nonetheless. All right,
yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to just throw this out there as we focus on writing. Let's not forget that writing itself can be an isolated effort. And so therefore, the speaking aspect of it needs to be strongly influenced or strongly pushed, because writing itself can disappear into the ethers. But in itself, speaking becomes the power from which our students actually grow. So I just throw that out as my observation, and I know it works because I've done it in my classrooms, and that really, really is a very strong point to push forward, to not only to have students to be better writers, but to be able to be better in presenting their thoughts.
Very good. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that. Thank you, Jalima. Thank you, Kalisha. Am I saying that
That
right?
is correct. That is correct. Thank
I ought
you.
to be able to get your name right.
Thank
Both.
you.
Thank you both for presenting today and
Thank you
for
so
fielding
much.
our questions. We'll look forward to that data that Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger requested as well. So we're going to move on in our agenda today. I think the next topic on the agenda is procurement. Do we have our procurement team with us?
Present and accounted for.
Hey. Hello there.
Hello.
Good
Hello.
to see you.
Good to see you as well. Greetings, commissioners and City Schools family. I'm Shabray Matthews, the Director of Procurement, and we have 2 items on the agenda for consideration. First up is Section 12.01 for Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, Inc., contract increase and extension. The Chief Academic Officer requests the board's approval to extend the contract term and increase the estimated total contract amount with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra to provide the OrchKids Supplemental Music Program. The board is requested to increase the estimated total contract amount from $1,225,000 to $1,975,000, excuse me, an increase of $750,000, and extend the contract term through June 30th, 2026.
All right.
Any questions?
Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger, I see you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the information. The question for me is just sort of a broader question. I'm still fairly new at this. I'm trying to figure out, as we get all of these procurement items before us, how to sort of weigh them against each other. As I'm just doing quick back of the envelope math here, looks like it would be about 200,000 per school that this program is in. If we're looking at, I think there were 9 schools on the list, so average, round that up to 10, and about 2 million is the procurement request. And so I'm curious how we should weigh that against, a program that does after school enrichment and summer programming and during the day programming that might be a different amount. So what kind of feedback do we get from principals or from students who are participating? Obviously, we know the BSO does great work generally in the community, but it's really all about implementation in schools. And so what mechanisms are there for us to be able to weigh something like this against, other programs that may cost less per school, or other programs that may cost the same amount but may have a different kind of impact?
Right. So because this is an increase, and even though there are 9 schools listed, we are not sure how much is going to be allocated to each school. So Chanel, are you able to provide some additional information for Commissioner Lallinger? Or Brooke? Okay.
I can pop in just real quick. Hi, I'm Brooke Porch, coordinator of academic fiscal operations. So the amount was determined based on previous year spending, but it does vary by school. If a school is larger, if it has a larger program, or it has a need to support more children, then the amounts vary by school.
Yeah. And just
Okay,
to
but
provide yes, sir. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Finish your question.
Oh, there she goes.
No, you might answer. You might be answering it. Go ahead. I'll wait.
Well, let's see. So there are a couple other things that factor into that. And inflation, Commissioner, is one of the things that we had to take account for as well. And then the addition of other schools, right? So just as Shabray mentioned, there are the sizes of programs that we do take into consideration. And then when we extend contracts for a particular amount, it is based on their historical spending, in addition to schools that may choose to be a part of the ORCIDS program as well.
Okay, just to clarify a couple of things. Thank you so much for the information, by the way.
Yes, sir.
Are you saying that there are additional schools that are participating ORCIDS that were not listed on this, not listed as one of the 9? Is that what you were saying, or maybe Shapray was saying?
No, sir, that's not
No.
what we're saying at all. What we're saying is that we anticipate sorry, stop, start, go, a little bit nervous. Based on the historical spending of programs, in addition to providing a bit of a cushion for schools that will select in the future to be an ORCIDS school, so that we are not hitting the cap. You know what I mean? So like to just provide a little bit of runway for schools that may be new to the program.
And we do have a variety of other fine arts programs that schools, from which schools can choose. So it really depends on school choice if it's a program that the school is particularly interested in or the students particularly love.
Opting into.
And another thing with ORCIDS is that the program grows. So like a class that may not have strings this year may have strings next year, or there may be more students playing strings next year. So that will also increase the cost.
Okay. These are all very helpful answers. And my question may actually be a question for us as a board, less so than for you all. And it's a question around our role of monitoring. You know, when these items come before us, we have pretty limited context. And I think at the end of the day, like, part of our job is actually to think about the effectiveness of programming in the schools and how much money we are allocating to various programs. And so I actually think it's less of a question for you all and just something for us to consider a little bit more as people who don't have a lot of context when these things come before us, and the varying dollar amounts relative to other things that those monies could be spent on. I do appreciate the context on this one. This is very helpful, and thank you for answering the questions.
Commissioner, if I may offer as well, these programs do have to submit evidence of effectiveness, and it may be useful for you as a board to request those reports that they give to help provide an even deeper level of context for what you're asking.
Thank you. Yeah, and I saw those notes at the bottom there, and those are often helpful. And the thing that I'm always weighing is implementation, even with evidence of effectiveness, can vary. And so I'm always curious about how the implementation complements the evidence of effectiveness. But thank you for that reminder. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. In terms of ORCIDS, you can also visit sites. And so I don't want to try to sway your comments or your views one way or the other. I would like to put forward, though, that there's nothing like seeing it in action too, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for that. I think that coupled with just ensuring, like, we approve these things, but just speaking to the fellow commissioners, just ensuring equitable distribution or equitable access. And so I think we get a pretty extensive report out on the arts, or at least the strategic plan for the arts could be good for us to see how we're making sure that all kids have access beyond ORCIDS. So something for us to note and dig into later. I am not surprised Commissioner Kenyatta Bay has a question on this.
Yeah, I don't know why you're not surprised, but anyway, the question that I only had was as far as we're looking at an increase, but I understand from going through the proposal and also going through the ORCID site in detail, that the principals actually drive this. It's a school by school, say we want ORCIDS, we want this in our school, etc. Do you see a potential of growth? If so, would that mean more outlay for this program? Do you see more schools? I mean, we're kind of hinting that there be more schools coming on board, but do you actually see more schools? Is there a selling of this to other schools to increase its capacity? I see 9 schools out of all of our schools that are listed. And would would your office like to see it in more schools, and why versus the other programs? That's my question.
Okay. Let's see where to start. Would we like to see OrCids in more schools? I'm going to go around that a little bit, but I promise I'll come right back to your point. What we want to see in Baltimore City Public Schools is the opportunities for us to increase hiring of more certified fine arts teachers. We want to see that across the board. We want to incrementally increase the number of students across our district, especially in secondary schools, that have the opportunity to experience instrumental music as well as all of the other arts. But particularly, I'm a drill down into the instrumental music part. We are working on some things, in teaching and learning that we hope will help for us to expand these instrumental music opportunities for our students. In terms of that expansion, yes, I think that if schools elect to have OrCids be part of their program, it could definitely help. And here's why I'm saying this. In this instance, OrCids Act as a supplement to the instruction that students are receiving from our certified and hired teachers through Baltimore City Public Schools. So it allows our teachers and our students that have support in their classrooms by OrCids to do some things that just a one person can't do, right? Ideally, middle schools would have 2 or 3 music teachers on staff, period. This is not inclusive of all of the other arts. They would have 2 or 3 music teachers on staff so that they could have more than one ensemble opportunity, so that students could have private lesson opportunities, right? And so this would be an ideal baseline in terms of experiences that all of our students could have in secondary grades. So we all know the good book tells us, right? Like, not even prayer. It says God hears all prayer, but money answers all things. And so we use the partnerships to help us expand the opportunities, if you will, in schools that are already meeting the guidance that we have set forth in Baltimore City as it relates to students being offered fine arts opportunities by certified teachers. Hope that answered it. Did you catch me at all, Commissioner? I'm sorry, I know I went around.
I got you, and I want you to bring that out, because what you brought out is what I wanted to bring out. And there are other programs, but the thing is in specific it's by saying this is a baseline program that fits the structure that you want others to come in and try to meet. You have answered my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. Shabray, I think that we've exhausted that procurement. You got another one for us?
Just one more.
Okay,
this is really for the operations committee, but it's being heard here today at the Teaching and Learning Committee. So section 14.01, United Data Technologies, Inc. The Chief Information Technology Officer requests the board's approval to award a competitively bid requirements contract with United Data Technologies, Inc. to provide city schools with a dedicated connection for inbound and outbound internet data traffic. The estimated total amount of the initial contract is $302,400. The contract term is July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028, with 2 one-year renewal options.
Clarify for me, Shabray, is that amount per year? So that 300,000 is per year until 2028?
So that is from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. And then if they exercise the 2 renewal options, it would be at $100,800 per year for a total potential contract amount of $504,000, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I see my friend has his hand up. Hello, Chief Jones.
Hello, how is everyone today?
I'm good. How are you, friend?
Good, doing good. Just a quick point as an FYI, It's
Mhm.
actually represents a 40% savings from our last contract. We had to go out and rebid it, and the last one was 500,000. This one is 300,000. So it's about a 40% savings.
Do we lose anything on functionality on that?
No, we think we actually gain a few things.
Look at God. Won't he do it? All right. I like these kind of procurements.
Thank you.
Do my fellow commissioners have any questions?
None for me.
Thank you.
None for me.
What? Okay, great. I think then that was the easiest procurement. We spent all of our time on the first one. Great. Thank you, Shabray, and thank you,
You're very
Chief
welcome.
Jones, and all of the members of the team who were present. Thank you. All righty. Let me get. That moves us to public comment, and we do not have any for today. But what I will say is individuals or groups interested in providing comment to the committee may sign up one of three ways. You can email, you can call the board office, or you can visit the board office at 200 East North Ave. Finally, oh, well, we won't talk about that. We don't use the chat function in our meetings, but that was just a part of the script. All righty. I believe that ends our agenda for today. I don't see. Our next meeting is Tuesday, April 1st, where we will focus on early learning and review proposed changes to operator renewal process. So thank you all for your participation today. Thank you, fellow commissioners. And if there's nothing else for the good of the order, we will adjourn.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.